All right, everybody, guess what? It's your boy Ed Diaz. We are back. So, as you know, all things financial, I always love to tackle, but I love to tackle it in a way that is really raw. It's very authentic, and it's not your typical stuff that everybody talks about. So, today I have Stacy here from Got It Together. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about maybe some things that are uncomfortable or things that people just don't talk about. But we're going to tackle it here very quickly. And then you're going to have the opportunity to connect with her on a one on one basis, which is always a very huge plus. So thank you very much for showing up. Stacy, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks, Ed, for having me.
Of
Appreciate it.
course, I'm excited to talk about this because it's not something that people really like to talk about. And, the reality is that, look, guys and gals, this gig never ends well. What does that mean? We are all going to die. Sorry to break it to you. But the reality is that that's what's going to happen. So what's important is the little dash that you see on everybody's epitaph. So birth, dash, and end. Now, what are you going to do with your dash? That's what we're going to talk about today, is about living in that dash and just tackling things that you know you need to do. What am I really talking about? Because I'm being a little bit cryptic. I'm talking about putting your financial affairs in order. So, Stacey, you've talked to a lot of people, but what do you think are some of the reasons, besides just flat out fear, why people don't plan for what's going to be the impending expiration date? Why is it when we know people plan more to go put a tent in front of the Apple store to get the latest iPhone than they do the ending of their life, when in fact it's coming?
And exactly. Yeah. So that's a good one, though, because usually they say, people spend more time planning their vacation, right, than they do spend planning for their retirement and all these other things. But the reality is that, yeah, people do die. And the thing is they always think they have more time. They're
Mm.
never ready to go. Even with a terminal diagnosis, believe it or not, most people still don't get around to making things right.
They think they're going to beat it.
Well, they're just so, at that point, you're really pretty much exhausted, I think, because it
That's
all
true.
becomes about your health and your doctor appointments and your
Yeah,
medication and your lab work. I mean, it just, your
it's
whole
true.
life becomes that. And so this other thing just seems too difficult and daunting because it does take some work. I mean, think about when you have to do your taxes. You have to gather up all the receipts and all the stuff that your accountant person needs or that you need to do it. And it's this project, right? That's what this is. It's a project. You need
And
to
it's
get
invasive to your everyday life, let's be honest.
exactly. And it's not like fun. I mean, it's not fun. The fun part about it is when you find things that you can correct, you feel like $1,000,000 because now your ex-spouse isn't going to get your life insurance or or your,
Or you're getting
deceased.
more money for a refund than you thought.
Yeah, you find things. I mean, I've had people find an uncashed dividend check. It was almost $1,000. She
Wow.
opened the
Okay.
envelope and then just put it right back in the drawer. It was like she totally didn't
Wow.
cash it. I found some money in an old cryptocurrency account that I thought was long gone. It was like
What?
$1,800. I'm like, I felt like I
Wow.
won the lottery. But
Totally.
my girlfriend found her ex-spouse listed on her IRA. And so she
Ooh.
was shocked and horrified at the same time because these things happen. And she's actually a financial advisor. So she was even
Wow.
more concerned about that. But the reality is you don't take your time to do these things. You might look at one thing or two things, but you're not going to do the whole thing. And I've laid out the whole thing in a 7-module course. And it all came about because I got sick and realized nobody knows how to
Mm.
pay the bills. Nobody knows where the money is.
This is
Nobody knows.
firsthand experience.
Yeah. And I worried about it. Like it was
Mm.
on my mind to the point where as soon as I got well enough, I started ordering these workbooks. Well, the workbooks don't do themselves. You still got to do the work. And I
That's why it's
didn't
called a
do
workbook.
and I didn't do the work because it was like, well, this one's too much. I don't know. I'll get a different one. So I started ordering all these books and still didn't do it. So I'm like, I know I'm a good student. I was A+ student. I love being a student. I
Yeah,
can
me
put
too.
together a course. And I know the course is going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I like that. And so that's what it is. It's 7 short modules. And by the time you get through it, you have an emergency info file.
So
If
what
you
does
should,
this encompass, this course, so that people are very clear about what this is?
yeah, so it's 7 modules. Each module has 4 lessons. So you're going to get educated on topics like estate planning,
Okay.
naming guardians for your kids. How about pet assignments? I mean, goodness, if you get hauled off in the ambulance or you're in a horrific car
Yeah,
accident,
who takes
whatever,
your
and
dog, your
your
cat?
pets are
Exactly.
home, who's going to come grab them? If it's the pound, good luck. They're not going to have a good future. And sometimes your relatives can't take them for they're allergic, or they have pets that won't mingle with your pets, or they don't live
Or
anywhere
they
near.
live far away. Yeah.
Yeah, so your pets are really in danger if
Mm.
something should happen to you. As is, let's say you care for somebody else. Have you made arrangements if, God forbid, you get sick or you end up injured or you pass, that person, you have somebody to pick up the slack until they can hire somebody to take your spot? I mean, there's so many things that just are not thought about, and
Yeah.
it
Well, the old saying
creates
is the devil is in the details. And see, you
and
don't realize how much stuff there is to do.
and by you not doing it, you're putting this whole heap of mess on somebody else who has a life that you've just
Correct.
disrupted and you've hijacked. And
It's a
maybe they
great
have a
point.
family and they have a business and they have things. Maybe their health isn't so great. This could put them over the edge as well, because it's stress galore when you have somebody else's mess on you because you can't put it on the back burner. Things, if you died, you got to get buried, and you got all these things have to happen, right? It's not, it's difficult. And so we go from estate planning through final wishes. So, when you look at estate planning, obviously I'm not an attorney, but I educate you generally on what to do and what you should do. And then you have to go seek the professional to get it done properly. And then we go all the way through all your contracts, your titling, your
Mm.
social media, and your logins, and your all these kinds of things.
Yeah. See, like
Your
even social media, like who thinks of that? Like
Yeah,
nobody.
except for the people that are locked out of accounts, and then all these precious pictures are ungrabbable anymore. and
Yeah, it's true.
and and then you have to see year in and year out people wishing that person happy birthday, hope you're doing good, but they don't realize they died. I mean, there's legacy
Mm.
setups that you can do with these, but people don't spend the time. You have to take a course to do it. Like, you're not going to do it without taking a course, because human nature gets you sidetracked. And you
Yeah.
always think you're feeling good today. You don't need to do it right now. It's not that important. But I'll tell you, I was in an ambulance heading to the ER, and it's a little too late at that point to decide, oh, I should be doing this, that, and the other, because it takes time. I mean, just depends on how complicated your life is too.
Yeah. That's like waiting to make a car payment when the tow truck is hauling your car away. No,
Exactly.
too late.
I love your examples. They're good.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that the day is coming. I just lost a dear friend last Friday. I mean, she was super vibrant, had no idea that she would die of colon cancer. And she did everything right. I mean, she was super healthy. Low body fat, in great shape.
Yeah.
And if it can happen to her, it can definitely happen to all of
Yeah.
us. We are
Well,
all vulnerable
yeah. What
to
about that actor in the
life.
Black Panther? Didn't he die of the colon cancer too? And
Yeah, and nobody knew he had it. I
he
mean, he
knew,
acted all the way to the end.
and he didn't do anything to get prepared. So, what happens when that
Yeah,
happens is the government
Chadwick
makes it.
Bose, something.
Yeah, the government gets their shot at the top of the gravy. They take a big piece of it if you haven't done proper planning. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
not nice.
called going into probate. And the government, believe me, if you don't plan, the government will. And guess who's going to benefit? It's
Yeah.
be the government.
Yeah.
You cannot let other people do what you're responsible for, because if they do, it's going to cost you. I mean, you're going to be gone by then, but it's going to cost your family that you claim to love so much. And part of love is setting things up so that they don't just mourn your death, but they mourn the death of their finances. And I've seen people's houses being taken and foreclosed on because they didn't have anything in place, or
Yeah.
they had to break leases and pay penalties because they didn't have things in place, no life insurance, so they were left destitute. Think about this: if your income earner dies, what do you do if they left nothing? but
Yeah.
bills and no life insurance to pay those things with.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose them and you lose everything else that you've known to be security in your life. So this is stuff that's important, and not to belittle the point, but
Right.
the reality is that if you don't plan, life will plan for you, and it's not going to be good.
That's right. And I just don't, people have this tendency to want to just wait for a better time to think about it or deal with it. And
Yeah.
they don't want to talk about it. And it's just, you can't, that horse to water whole thing, but it's like, it's a little old at this point. It's almost like I got started in the industry in the 80s. And okay, in the 80s, we were a little more naive. We didn't see 9/11. We didn't see, mass shootings. We didn't see car drive-by. We didn't see COVID. We didn't see any of this stuff.
No,
And you
not
think
at
we'd
all.
be a little smarter now, realizing that, we are just human and people do drop dead on for no reason. I mean, you could have an
Yeah.
embolism,
Yeah.
and you could be 20 years old. You can be 50 years old. It isn't,
Sure.
and you can be in perfect health. So just the fact that people aren't willing to go there is, I think you mentioned in the beginning, I think it's just a fear factor.
Yeah.
And if you were indoctrinated into this growing up, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but people have this phobia and it runs down family lines. So, if your parents never did anything, you're probably apt not to do anything. Your parents never had life insurance, you're probably apt not to care
Yes,
about
that
having life
insidious cycle
insurance.
that has a tendency to repeat itself over and over
Right. And
again.
it's all lack of education. And
It
so
really
that's
is.
really my program is I feel like it's financial literacy. I mean, my background is financial advisor for over 30 years. I saw that people just don't know. And you can't say, well, it's not your fault. The information's there. They're just not being presented with it. And so that's why when I talk about my program and people tend to want to say, well, I have it all handled. If I think of somebody, I'll let them know and send them your way. They miss the point. They've excused themselves and they are totally just in denial because they're not ready, but yet they're willing to send somebody else that they believe
Isn't that crazy?
needs it.
The old saying, it reminds me of the old saying, is that people don't plan on failing, they fail to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they do start to plan, it's too late. Like you said, I mean, here you are thinking in the back of that ambulance, oh no, right? I mean, the good
Yeah.
news is that you got another shot at it, but what percentage of people get that?
Yeah.
They just don't. So what do you think are some great steps just to start, just to get the rust off of these wheels? What's a good first place to just start?
And I haven't stopped this. It's interesting because the business is just less than 2 years old, but I said the same thing from the very beginning. And it's interesting that it's stuck. The very first thing is having the conversation. Just start talking about it with people. Just get used to talking about it with people.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you got to kind of hear it come out of your mouth before you believe it. And so you just start talking about it and have these conversations and say, if you have siblings, say, hey, I just was thinking if, when mom and dad go, or, dad's already gone, when mom goes, I don't know if everything's ready for us. I mean, I don't have time to sit and drop my whole life. What about you? Like, let's see, maybe we can have a conversation, and we should be looking at our own stuff too, definitely. But just start having the conversation,
Yeah,
however it
agreed.
comes out.
Yeah, that's a great first place. So on that note, step 2 is you should reach out to Stacy and have a conversation. Sometimes, it's hard to talk to family members because it's too close to the fire. Maybe sometimes just talking to somebody that you don't know, like Stacy, who's gone through this from a personal standpoint and also professional, of course, that you can have that conversation. It's almost like hiring a counselor, right? I look
Yeah.
at it as almost like having a financial counselor, having a financial couch that you can sit on and just have this
Yeah.
conversation and kind of download is a great first place
Yeah.
to start, because she might ask you questions of things that you maybe didn't think about, or ways of quote unquote softening the blow to start having these conversations with others and yourself and your own family. On that note, I see your phone number there. What is there an email address that people can get a hold of you to, and a website?
Yeah. So the website, first off, is gotittogethernow.com.
Okay,
Just
got it
type it
together
slow and you'll
now.com.
get it.
Right.
Gotittogethernow.com.
Togethernow.com.
And on there, if you can get to that point, it has all my information on the pages. But
Okay.
this 714-709-2027, you can text me. The
It's a cell
email
phone
is
number. Okay.
Yeah, it's a cell number, so you can text me on that too. Just say, you heard me on Ed's show. And I think that that's probably the best way. But I think that people that take my course, what they love the best is being in a community of people that are like-minded,
Mm.
that are having this conversation so they can talk amongst themselves and get ideas of what they do and don't want to have happen. Because
Ah,
sometimes people are reticent to actually get started because they don't know like what to do. Like they don't want to upset their kids, or they don't know who to pick to actually handle their affairs. So
right.
they pick nobody, which is a big
Mm.
mistake. I mean,
Yeah.
we even have some solutions for that in these
Okay.
professional fiduciaries that exist nowadays, and people don't realize it. They can have somebody that's what they do for a living, is do trust,
Okay.
administration and settle
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
estates. It's a
Totally.
really great option.
You're right.
Mhm.
The whole key here, everyone, is just to start that conversation. Just start it,
Mhm.
because you just never know what tomorrow or even the next 40 minutes is going to hold. So just do it, right? Just get it done. And I love the fact that this also comes with a built-in community and forum of people that you can also have that conversation with. Because sometimes, like, again,
Yeah.
it's easier to talk to strangers than it is your own family. Sometimes that's just the case, right?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So make sure that you reach out. Thank you so much, Stacy, for your information. You're always a wealth of good nuggets. And we
Thank you.
certainly hope that people reach out to you sooner than later. Have a great day.
Thank
Take
you.
care.